was a friend of mine who was having trouble conceiving for years. And they had been at our house for dinner, and I just felt like something was different. And I had written in my journal that she's with child. Mm-hmm. And later down the road, she told us, and I said, when did you know? And she knows, she's a Christian, she knew. And I was able to go back to that date. And she knew that date, I knew that date.
Wow.
Like, God is so good. He shows us his hands. Like, people think miracles are like, like someone being instantly healed. It's so much more than that. They can be the smallest things where he shows his goodness in your life to giant, very public things like this church member that had gone missing being found. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Meet Jennifer, who I'm so excited to have join me here today. And the reason it's so intense for me to intro you is because when I first became a believer, God put you in my life in a big way. And you probably are aware of that. It was like I was this little infant toddler finding God, and you took my hand and led me to the areas that I needed to go. So I'm grateful for that. And just so you all know, Jennifer Holmes is a devoted follower of Jesus, loving wife and mother, and a powerhouse realtor at the Keller Williams Experience office in Barrie. She's got a heart for serving others and a faith that grounds every decision she makes. Jennifer's journey is one of grace, grit, and growth, from overcoming personal trials to finding purpose in helping others find home, literally and spiritually. Jennifer brings light into every space she enters. Her real story is about transformation, trust, and building a life on a foundation that never shakes. So thank you for joining me. And I'd love to know a bit more about you that I didn't capture here.
Well, as you said, I'm a realtor, but I'm a wife to a police officer, and that is a large part of our life as well. We established a charity for police officers and their families. It's a peer support organization in 2010. I'm a mom to 2 teen boys, and I love to bake.
Okay. Thank you. So why don't we start just by closing our eyes, taking a deep breath in and out, in and out. And if you think of something that you just want to share that you're so grateful for, I'd love to hear about that.
I am grateful for the people I get to be in relationship with, whether it's my immediate family or friends or the people I get to meet while I'm doing my work. I'm grateful for those relationships.
Okay. And I guess we'll get into that a little bit more, but would you be comfortable leading us in the prayer? Should
Sure.
I?
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to sit and talk with Jamie Lee today. Lord, we pray that our words would be inspiring to others and reflect on you and your goodness. In your name, amen.
Amen. I'd love for you to start off by sharing what you feel God's given you as your natural superpower gift.
Sure, that's an interesting question because I'm not someone who typically brags about myself, but I have been told I have the gift of mercy. And I think that's what makes my passion to serve others come through. I want to help people, and when I can see them through the eyes of God, it helps me serve them to the best of my ability. And so I think that is one of my superpowers, but I'm also super organized, and I have been since I was a little kid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Where do you get that from?
I don't know. My mom would be fairly organized, and my dad's an engineer, so really it probably comes naturally. Mm-hmm. I do remember as a child, when we were at the babysitters, my thing at the end of the day was to get all the kids to tidy up and put toys away. Like, so weird for a 5-year-old, but that's who I've been my entire life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a gift,
I guess.
In the world that we're in right now, it's obviously so fast paced.
Yeah.
People are very busy. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it causes confusion and chaos. And for someone that loves to be organized like yourself, How do you find stability in a world that's constantly shifting? Or what's something about the way that you show up every day and keeps you going, doing what you love?
So routine is really important to stay organized, but what I've learned, especially having children, is you also have to be flexible in that. So it would be really easy for someone like me who's very structured to get frustrated when things change. And in real estate, things change all the time. But I've learned to be flexible and I think it's a rule that I was taught through Keller Williams. You know, if you have to move something, you move it. You don't erase it, you replace it. And that has been a really good piece for me to hold on to. Nothing is so urgent that you can't move it to another time, but there are things that become more important. I'm very family focused, and so my children will take priority, and you just learn to reorganize things so you can still get everything done, meet everybody's needs, but you work with flexibility in that structure.
Okay. That's a good one, especially for those out there who are relating to you and going, yeah, I'm really structured and I have a hard time jiggling my schedule.
Yeah. You have to remain calm. It was important for me that my kids had structure right from the beginning because my husband does not work a 9-to-5 job. I don't work a 9-to-5 job. So we really did build our family life around a structure for the kids. And then that forced us to have to be flexible in our lives.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you share a little bit about you of the past? Okay. Where did you grow up? Okay. What were your early years like? Yeah. Obviously, we know your dad was an engineer.
Yeah,
architect, engineer,
mechanical.
Mechanical.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I grew up in a little village called Sweeburg. It's outside of Woodstock, Ontario. My parents never moved. We lived in that same house forever, and my dad had the same job his entire career. So that's where maybe my crave for stability came from, because that's what my family life was like. Neighbors started taking me to church when I was 5, and then my mom followed after that. My dad did not go to church, but that was a big part of my upbringing, going to church. We were involved in the youth group there. I was a pretty active kid. I wanted to actually go to the Olympics for swimming. That was a big desire of mine. Because that training was on Sunday mornings, though, it was something my mom decided was not in our best interest. She wanted to keep us in church, and I don't regret her decision in that. I still love to swim today, though. And something a lot of people maybe don't know is I actually had reconstructive surgery on both my legs in my teens. And so that also shaped some of my ability, I think, to give mercy to other people. I had been in a place of physical pain, and so I learned how to cope with that and offer that to other people.
Neat. I didn't know that about you. I knew that you swam a lot. I didn't know about the Olympic dream.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I wrote about it in high school. That was something I really wanted to do, and it's still one of my favorite sports to watch when the Summer Olympics are on. I do enjoy it.
It is fun.
Yeah.
I love it too. How many times a week are you swimming right now?
Right now, I'm just getting once a week. My goal is to do, a kilometer in 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Is there anything painful or defining or a low point in your life where you felt God met you in that season?
Yes. And if I was to draw out the 47 years of my life in a timeline and put a title to different sections, there's a period of about 7 years where I would write the word grief. And it was a time where we experienced a lot of loss, not just grieving people who had passed, but other things in our life. And as I mentioned earlier, I keep a prayer journal. I've been doing that since I was 12. The neat thing about that is when you pick up old ones and you look back and read them, you can see how God was with me and answered prayers. That period of 7 years, it started just before I actually entered into real estate. We lost 3 uncles in 1 year. One of them I was very close to. He did not marry or have kids, so we were his family. We experienced a failed adoption, or what we call an adoption miscarriage, during that time. a sweet little baby girl that we thought we were bringing home and we didn't get to. Those two losses happened at the same time, the loss of my uncle and the loss of this adoption. And looking back, I can see that in that God was present. I would not have been able to be present for both situations, to be at the bedside of my uncle while he was in hospital and trying to attach to a newborn baby. That wouldn't have been possible and would not have been in the best interest of that little girl. She's with a family that couldn't have children, and that's a beautiful story. But it was a loss that I didn't know how to process.
Yeah.
I actually found myself shortly after we found out we weren't bringing her home. I was doing some sewing for the church, and I could not stop weeping, and I didn't know why. And that was when somebody brought it to my attention that it is the same emotions as a miscarriage, because it's a child that you anticipated bringing home and you didn't. But those 7 years would go on for us to, we watched a number of our friends bury their children.
Wow.
Some young lost to cancer, some older teens lost to car accidents. We would both my husband and I would lose a grandparent during that time. And then we lost our community. My oldest boy suffered 3 concussions in 4 years. And after the second concussion, we had to leave the school community he was in. He was in, unfortunately, an emotional and spiritually abusive situation. And for his safety and well-being, we had to walk away from that community quite suddenly. What we didn't realize would happen in that situation was these people we had walked alongside for 10 years, they didn't know why we had left. And communication just kind of stopped. These people you saw every day. And so it was just another layer of loss for our family. There are moments where my walk-in closet became my prayer closet, but it was where I would go just to get away and to weep. In all of that, though, I know looking back, God carried our family through that time. It has helped define us going forward. You can go through really hard things and let that be your anchor. Like, this defines who I am now. Or you can let it define you in propelling you forward. And in all of those situations, it's how I speak to my children about it. How can we move forward from this and help someone else who goes through something similar? And how can we allow it to cause us to grow? But what always holds true is our faith. God never changes. So even though those times were really hard, He allows us to weep and be sad and brings comfort in those moments. And that's where I think as an adult, I know I don't know how someone goes through such loss without a hope. And that's where my faith really was the foundation of that period of time.
Thank you for sharing all that. It's a lot that you went through. 7 years of a lot. And I can relate with knowing now God carries us through those moments. And it's the hope of all he gives through that, that valley. And I don't even have words because I know what you're talking about. So for someone that's watching that might go, well, I don't know if I believe that, what would you say to them? Like, what do they do to connect to this greater power that takes them through the valley?
I would say just cry out to Him, in those darkest days. And I think there's almost a human piece of us that does that. Like, you get to this deep pit of despair. I like to think of the hope that I have and my faith as kind of the ladder out of that, right? And you just have to start by clinging to it. You don't know how tall that ladder is or how long it's going to take you to climb out. But if you're holding on to it, there is hope to get to the next piece. And sometimes there are no words. Even when you go through something, you experience a loss or a disappointment, you can be speechless, but still cry out to God. And sometimes I would just verbalize that, like, why am I going through this? Or why has my son suffered in this way? And I think God just gives us a peace internally. I played a lot of worship music in those days. If I couldn't do anything else, sometimes I just sat and had worship music on and just let that kind of be this soothing balm over my soul. And we filled our house with that. On the darkest days, at least there was something positive going on in the house. Yeah.
And how would you say, since you were 5 and started getting taken to church by this neighbor, faith has shaped your personal life, and how has it shaped your professional life?
So when you're 5, you don't have a full understanding of anything. So I would say that, well, at 5, I understood when they talked about forgiveness and salvation. I understood those two concepts in a way a 5-year-old could. When I got to my late teens, that's when I really embraced my faith for myself. What does this mean for me? And I'm watching my own kids go through that right now. My oldest is 18. And, for the last couple of years, he would say he believed in God, but that was it. And now he's gotten to a place where he's like, okay, I want this relationship and I understand what grace is. So for me, it was a primary part of my upbringing, but it really wasn't my own until I was in my late teens. And now I try to use that to shape everything I do. I believe in doing things with integrity. And that is, for me, like, does it meet what God calls of me? Like, even if no one else sees what I'm doing, he knows what I'm doing, and does it honor him? I try to hold those things as kind of my guiding post as I move through my job. I try to serve people in a way that just would show them a different amount of love and light that they might not experience from someone else. I'm very relationship based. And so that becomes an easy way to do a transaction.
Yeah.
I have a really neat story. Can I share it?
I'd love for you to.
So I take court ordered listings, which are challenging. Obviously, there's a breakdown in the family or someone has passed for it to get to the point that it's court ordered. One of my very first listings was a court ordered listing. And there was teenage twins in the house. Mom and dad lived separately. And the dad would have to walk to get his daughter on Tuesday nights. So if I was going to meet with him for paperwork, this was before DocuSign, it would need to be at a certain time because he'd have to go walk and pick her up from youth group. They didn't go to church, but she went to this church youth group. And when it came time for closing, he had talked about her going to youth group so much. I asked him, does she have a Bible? I knew the church that she was attending, and I knew that, it would be an evangelical church. And he said, no. And I said, do you mind if I give her one? And he's, sure. So part of my closing gift to this family was this Bible for this teenage girl. Fast forward 5-6 years, COVID, I go into a Tim Hortons at the opposite end of town, and we were wearing face masks at the time, so we're not the most recognizable to each other. And the girl behind the counter, I didn't recognize her. She says to me, she said, you're a real estate agent. I said, yep. This was my farm area, so my signs would be out kind of regularly. And she said, you might not remember me, but my parents, and she named them. And she said, you helped sell their house. And I was like, yes, I did. And she's like, you were very kind to my family. And I thought, a very tough situation.
Yeah.
And just a small act, but obviously it had impact on her, and that has had impact on me. Just, yeah.
Well, I love that. Touching the world with kindness.
Yeah.
In different ways.
Yeah.
People definitely remember that.
Yeah.
What are the values that you hold the closest, or the ones that guide your decisions even as you evolve?
So I would say integrity and generosity.
Okay.
Yeah. Generosity, it doesn't have to be a financial thing. I think a lot of people look at it that way. But all that we have, time, our houses, our belongings, our money, all of that we can be generous with, because none of it, I look at it like none of what we have by our own might. Everything we have is something that's been given to us, and we're to steward it. And so, whether it is your time or your ability to bake 12 pies at once, those things are things that we need to be generous with.
So now I know that the pies get given.
Yes, they do.
Your family of four does not eat all
We
the
don't
pies.
eat 12 pies all at once.
I can tell.
Thanks.
Moments of impact. So I want to hear, and you actually just shared a story of impact. Can you share any other stories where you saw the ripple of your work or faith?
Sure. Yeah. There's another court-ordered listing. Those ones, I love them because there is a despair part to it. And so for me to be able to come in and serve these people in those moments, I love that. This was a hard one to start, but it's one where I've been able to impact many generations. So Grandma and Grandpa were in a house. Grandma was no longer there in the house. She'd been moved to long-term care, and the adult children needed to have the home sold. Dad was not a kind man. In fact, during one of our appointments, I sat through about half an hour of name calling, just things being said of me that weren't even true. Like they said I needed an education. Well, I have 3 post-secondary educations, but in that moment, like I'm just biting my tongue, and praying, how can I get through this and be kind? Since then, though, I've become friends with the daughter of this gentleman and her children. And they continue to refer me to their friends and family, but just have a real friendship with them. And I think it would be really easy to have just walked away from all of that. It was hard, but to be able to serve them with kindness and continue to have relationship with that, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of impact are you hoping to make in this season of your life and career?
So I'm in an interesting place right now because my children are reaching that point of independence. And so the immediate next 2 years, I still have one at home. And I want to treasure that time because when they say you only have 18 summers with your kids, sometimes it's less. Like my 18-year-old moved out on his own this year, and you realize how quickly that goes. So while I'm very passionate about my career, I do love what I get to do. Right now, my focus is my family. To be sure that my 15-year-old still wants to talk to me every day. When he says, I want to go to the air show on Sunday, I want to be free to take him because I know these next 2 years, I can't replace that. It's an opportunity where they're independent, so I can work and I don't have to arrange childcare, but I don't want to miss the precious moments of my teenage boys still wanting to be with their mom. So right now, that's kind of the guiding part of my life that I'm focusing on. But I do want to see, right now with the way the market is, it's a lot of grind. You got to just put your head down and work hard. Yeah. So that's where, with the business, that's where I'm focused, just keeping my head down, doing what I need to do every day so that we make it through this odd market we're in, but also being flexible so that my teenage boys have access to their mom whenever they need it.
I love that. And I think it's so good that you're saying that because I do believe, and even with myself, things can get wildly out of hand in business, and like that, the time is gone.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not replaceable. So I have had a lot of God speaking to my heart, which in my opinion, God is love. And it's like that love that flows through us to our children as mothers, fathers. It's real. And you can't ignore that nudge to be like, just go be present.
Yeah.
Put your phone down, go to the air show, go to the Pokemon card store, do all the stuff because you can't replace it.
Yeah.
In the future when they're older, hopefully they'll remember those sweet moments and
they will.
Yeah.
My 18-year-old that moved out, he was given a great job opportunity. He's apprenticing, so he had a great opportunity to move away from home to pursue that. And the first time he came home, that hug was just so different. And he often tells us how much he misses us. And I think, I hope every parent gets to experience that. But I know the trial we went through with him, with his concussions and having to pull him from the school and being available for him for all of that has built a foundation with him that my 18-year-old looks forward to coming home and giving me a hug. I love that. And and trust that it's going to work out the same way with my 15-year-old. He's in a little different place right now, trying to figure out independence. But I think I had insight into this is what teenage years would be like with my kids. I do remember in the adoption journey, I had to talk about my career. And at that time, I remember saying to the person doing the home study, you know, I didn't mind working when they were toddlers and they napped 2 times a day, because when they got to be teenagers, I wanted to be available for them. And that did mean a requirement of me changing career paths so that that could happen. My husband's career doesn't allow that. He's gone 12 hours a day and it's an odd shift. But for me to be able to just be flexible and have time with them, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. No, that's the blessing of flexible careers.
Yeah.
For even a structured person like yourself.
Yes.
Often people think that you have to take something to the next level to be inspiring. So I would love to talk about the reality of the daily mess, the balance, the real stuff, because when people see you, they're like, oh, well, she goes to church every Sunday. Her husband's a police officer. Her children have turned out wonderfully. She's got everything in order. So this is where it's nice for people that are watching to see the reality of whatever life looks like behind the scenes and just kind of share a snapshot of that and how it can show up and how you handle it.
Yeah. I think social media has made us think that everybody has this perfect life, right? I vacuumed my floors for the first time in 2 weeks yesterday. And I have a dog that's 6 feet long and 135 pounds and sheds a lot. Like, not everything can be perfect. And that is literally the mess of my life. Structure's important and that's good. But if you get too tied to that, it can cost you in relationship, right? And I would say that, you know, we have to stop looking at everybody's perfect life and realize they're all people just like us. You know, they all get sick and runny noses. They, you know, go hungry at times, whatever. There are ways that you have to learn to balance all of that. I had a friend whose dad was a surgeon, and he had a great saying, and that whatever chaos was happening, he would just say, but nobody's going to die on the operating table. There's nothing we're dealing with in our day-to-day that's that important, right? That something can be let go. It's okay if I don't vacuum for 2 weeks right now because other things need my time. Last night I decided to vacuum, but I said to my husband, I'm not cooking. I don't have the capacity to do both. And so he ordered takeout. There were nights with the kids when they were little that, especially if Al was working, for dinner, if I couldn't just manage it all, it was a bowl of Cheerios. And that's okay. Yeah. That's really okay.
Sometimes they like it better.
Right? And that might be a funny memory for them later, hopefully. But we just have to give ourselves grace. It's easy for me to give grace to other people. I like a really tidy house. So the last 2 weeks, it was kind of trying. I'm like, oh. I also have learned to live in sweatpants. My goodness. I never wore sweatpants until about 5 years ago. But then we got this dog that sheds terribly. And so if I want to look nice when I leave the house, I can't be wearing those clothes while I'm working from home. And I've actually learned to be really comfortable in sweatpants and not be ashamed of that.
What kind of dog is it?
Duke is a mountain mastiff, and mastiff should be massive because he really is quite large. If he lays down, he's 6 feet long. He's 135 pounds, so he's the same size as me. And he is so loyal, but sometimes that means he crawls into the chair in your lap or just leans on you. And so I've learned I just have to accept that mess for the love that I get in return, right?
Yeah.
And it's worth sometimes those trades.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. I love it. So let's look ahead. Obviously, everything you've learned on your journey is just what leads us on the path forward. If we had the privilege of being back here together in a year, what would you say we'd be celebrating?
A year is so short,
It is.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So right now, I'm in that stage where the last one at home has just 2 years left of high school. And so in 2 years, I'm hoping we're celebrating that he's graduated, and he will. My husband's in a position where he's looking at a promotion that might have us move. Not far, but it would have us move closer to where he wants to be. In a year, I hope that I've come through this odd market, having doubled what I did last year. That's just a numerical goal for me. I like to, kind of track my business that way. But it also means I've gotten to help and serve twice as many families. Yeah.
And I know from your stories, if you get or they get the opportunity to work with you, it really is a blessing in their life. Even my husband says when people work with Jen or when I work with Jen, it just feels so different. So
Thanks.
what you're doing definitely sheds love and light into the world. So just thought you should know that.
Thank you.
Even with all your success, are there any riddles or things that you are still trying to solve?
Riddles.
Or fierce prayers that you're I need this one answered or clarity on?
There are always fierce prayers. That is something I'm really grateful that my mom instilled in me. She's a prayer warrior. And like I said, I've been journaling my prayers since I was 12. And so the really neat thing about that is being able to look back on the answers. But there are some prayers that go unanswered. There are certain prayers I've been praying since I was 12 for people I love. This is why I asked for Kleenex. But God is good and faithful. And I don't think he cares that I come asking for the same thing every day. I think he wants me to. There are things that happen here on earth that I know we won't get answers for here. I don't know why our family felt inspired. Well, I do know why, to go on the adoption journey. My mom's adopted. We have cousins who are adopted, cousins who have adopted. Our family is built that way, and we wanted to grow our family that way. But I don't know why it didn't come to fruition. But what I do know is that when my last day on earth comes and I have to stand before my Creator, I don't want him to be, I gave you this dream and you didn't follow up on it. And so while there might be some things here on earth we don't have answers to, I know at the end of my life that all of those things will be answered for me.
Yes, I know that too. Is there anybody or anything that I can do in the next year, 2, 3, that might be able to even help in the slightest way to thank you for all that you've done for me?
I would love to be able to speak to young moms to inspire them. I came from a church background where women aren't seen as equal. And sometimes when you are an entrepreneurial mind and you're in that environment, it's hard to see how to go forward. I had my accountant actually inspire me one day at church in the parking lot. And because of who she is and her professionalism and her success, I knew I could step forward and build my real estate business. I would like to inspire other young moms who are looking for that person of faith who can tap into the skills God's given them and still be a mom and a wife. It's possible, especially God's created us to do that. And so if I can inspire someone and speak to young moms, I would love to.
This is great to know, because a part of what I want to start doing will be, how do we help other upcoming leaders or people who don't necessarily have yet that self-confidence or more importantly, self-worth to go and follow their God-given purpose and dream. And so having mighty warriors like yourself alongside to encourage and give them hope and get direction on how strong they truly are and all that we can do, that's amazing to know. You're going to be top of my list of people to connect to, or if someone asks me for a speaker of some kind or encourager, I'll definitely be giving them your information.
Sounds
if you're
good.
okay with that.
I'm good with that.
Permission based.
Yeah.
As long as it's in the schedule.
We can add it to the schedule. Okay. We'll just move a few things around.
Perfect. Something that it says on my sheet here, ask a surprise question. So I'm going to just go out because I'm being like triggered to do it. So I'm going to do it. So I remember us talking several times about miracles that were happening in the most fascinating ways. Like you told me about something and then my son just went, I need to go pray about that.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear your perception of that story without saying names or anything. And because we both experienced similar things, and I didn't know the family this was happening to, but my son just like ran into his bedroom and started praying and then told me they're going to find that person.
Yeah. I was just talking about this story actually recently with someone. So a few years ago, a member of our church went missing, and the church prayed for days. It was 3 days.
Yeah.
And then the night that the whole church came together into the building, a weeknight, to pray for him, he was found. And in a very miraculous way, like somebody was it was actually an off-duty officer was driving down the road and spotted him and found him while the church was gathered to pray. Like there is power in numbers. And I had told you about this, and your boy went and prayed. And I thought, what beautiful childlike faith, like really to just trust that you're going to ask God this and it will be done. And he did do it. It was beautiful. But that's a power of prayer journaling. I could not get my boys to do it. They're whatever. They don't like writing out their prayers. But I'm thankful for that skill that was gifted to me, because there are many opportunities where I've gone back. There was a friend of mine who was having trouble conceiving for years. And they had been at our house for dinner, and I just felt like something was different. And I had written in my journal that she's with child. And later down the road, she told us, and I said, when did you know? And she knows, she's a Christian, she knew. And I was able to go back to that date. And she knew that date, I knew that date.
Wow.
Like, God is so good. He shows us his hands. Like, people think miracles are like, like someone being instantly healed. It's so much more than that. They can be the smallest things where he shows his goodness in your life to giant, very public things like this church member that had gone missing being found.
Doesn't always have to be serious. God is also funny.
Oh, he is.
I've joked around with my kids shortly after I was a believer. We were in a rush. I can't even remember where we were going. And we got to this parking lot and the place was packed. And I was like, guys, we're going to have to pray for a parking spot. Yeah. And they all started to pray, please get mommy a parking spot. And someone pulled out in front of us and we pulled right in. And it's just like, there's humor in it too. And there's joy and all of these amazing things that happen when you start to tap into that power.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jen.
Welcome. Thank you.
I've really enjoyed hearing your journey, all that you do, knowing because of the stories I'm told about how you really do show up in people's lives with that love and care and kindness. And that's so important, especially in the world we're in today. So, Jennifer, if people want to find out more about what you do, areas you service for real estate, or some of the charities that you are involved in, where can they look?
So on Facebook, you can find us at the Homes for Homes team, and on Instagram, it's Homes for You. And we service all of Simcoe County, but we also know realtors all over North America. So we can connect you with people who are just like us. And for our ministry, the Canadian Christian Police Ministry, we are on Facebook and Instagram as well under Canadian Christian Police Ministry for Facebook, and Instagram at CCP Ministry. Our website is also ccpministry.com. We have some events coming up, so if someone knows an officer, that's a great place to find us.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And if you like or want to make a comment of a miracle that's happened in your life, or you want to talk to Jen or myself, please feel free to comment below. Thanks so much for joining us with the Real Stories podcast with JLB.